In the heart of a sprawling city, where skyscrapers loomed like giants and streets teemed with bustling crowds, there stood an old, abandoned theater known simply as the Phantom's Playhouse. Once a grand venue that hosted sold-out performances and glittering galas, it had fallen into disrepair after a tragic fire claimed the lives of several actors and patrons decades ago. Despite its dilapidated state, rumors persisted among locals of strange occurrences within the theater's walls. Some claimed to have seen ghostly apparitions drifting through the aisles, while others spoke of eerie whispers that echoed through the empty halls late at night. The Phantom's Playhouse had earned a reputation as a place where the veil between the living and the dead was unerringly thin. One rainy evening, a group of thrill-seeking teenagers decided to explore the abandoned theater. Armed with flashlights and nerves of steel, they crept through a hole in the chain-link fence that surrounded the property and slipped inside. The air inside was heavy with dust and the musty scent of old velvet seats. As they ventured deeper into the theater, their footsteps echoing against the worn wooden floors, they passed crumbling stage sets and faded posters advertising long-forgotten productions. The darkness seemed to press in around them, broken only by the beams of their flashlights. They reached the grand auditorium, where once the velvet curtains had risen to applause and acclaim. Now the stage lay bare, covered in debris and detritus. The seats, once plush and inviting, were now tattered and torn, their fabric hanging in ghostly shreds. In the center of the stage, a lone spotlight flickered to life, casting an eerie glow over the empty space. The teenagers froze, their hearts pounding in their chests as they exchanged nervous glances. None of them had touched the spotlight, and yet it bathed the stage in an otherworldly radiance. Just as they began to contemplate leaving, a soft, melodious hum filled the air. It was a haunting tune, melancholy yet beautiful, echoing through the theater as if carried on a gentle breeze. The teenagers strained to locate the source, their flashlights darting around the auditorium, but they saw no one. The hum grew louder, wrapping around them like a spectral embrace. Shadows danced on the walls, elongating and contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. The air grew colder, and the beams of their flashlights flickered as if struggling against an unseen force. Suddenly, the seats began to creak and groan, as if under the weight of invisible spectators. Whispers filled the air, unintelligible yet undeniably present, as if the theater itself was speaking to them. Panic surged through the group, their voices rising in a chorus of fear. In the midst of the chaos, a figure materialized on the stage, a silhouette bathed in the unearthly light of the spotlight. It was a woman, dressed in a flowing gown reminiscent of a bygone era, her features obscured by shadows. She continued to hum the haunting melody, her voice piercing through the cacophony of whispers. Mesmerized yet terrified, the teenagers watched as the woman's spectral form glided across the stage, her movements graceful yet unnerving. The spotlight followed her every step, casting her in sharp relief against the darkness that enveloped the rest of the theater. And then, with a final mournful note, the woman vanished into thin air, leaving behind an oppressive silence. The spotlight flickered once more and then went out, plunging the theater back into darkness. The teenagers stood rooted to the spot, their minds racing to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Slowly, they backed away from the stage, their footsteps echoing loudly in the stillness. They fled from the Phantom's Playhouse, their hearts still racing with the echoes of the Phantom's haunting melody. Outside, rain continued to fall, washing away their footprints as if to erase any trace of their daring exploration. But the memory of the Phantom's Playhouse would stay with them, a reminder that some places harbor secrets best left undisturbed, and that the spirits of the past may linger, waiting to share their stories with those brave enough to listen. As the teenagers fled from the Phantom's Playhouse, their minds raced with a mixture of fear and disbelief. The haunting melody lingered in their ears, echoing through their thoughts like a ghostly whisper. Rain poured down in sheets, soaking their clothes and obscuring their path as they stumbled through the darkened streets of the city. They dared not speak of what they had witnessed inside the abandoned theater, each consumed with their own thoughts and emotions. Mark, typically the most stoic of the group, couldn't shake the image of the spectral woman gliding across the stage, her form ethereal yet undeniably real in that eerie spotlight. Sarah, usually the voice of reason, found herself questioning everything she thought she knew about the boundaries between the living and the dead. The phantom's haunting melody played on a loop in her mind, its melancholy notes stirring a strange mix of sadness and dread. Emily, the storyteller among them, struggled to find the words to describe the spectral apparition they had encountered. Her thoughts raced with fragments of stories and legends she had read about restless spirits and tragic ghosts condemned to relive their final moments. Tom, ever the skeptic, grappled with the unsettling reality of what they had experienced. His rational mind searched for logical explanations, drafts causing the seats to creak, shadows playing tricks in the dim light. But deep down, he knew there was something inexplicable about the Phantom's Playhouse. They finally sought refuge in a nearby cafe, seeking warmth and solace in each other's presence. The cafe buzzed with the chatter of other patrons, oblivious to the supernatural encounter that had shaken the group to their core. They huddled together in a corner booth, their hands trembling as they wrapped them around steaming mugs of coffee. "We have to talk about what happened," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We can't just pretend it didn't happen." Mark nodded solemnly, his gaze fixed on the swirling steam rising from his cup. "I saw her too. It was like she was trapped in that moment, repeating the same haunting melody over and over." Emily swallowed hard, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. "Do you think she's real? A ghost?" Tom sighed heavily, running a hand through his rain-soaked hair. "I don't know what to believe anymore, but whatever she was, she seemed to want to communicate with us." They fell into a thoughtful silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Outside, the rain continued to pour, a relentless downpour that mirrored the turmoil within their hearts. The memory of the Phantom's Playhouse hung over them like a shroud, casting a pall over their once carefree spirits. "We can't just leave it like this," Emily finally spoke, her voice tinged with determination. "We have to go back. Maybe there's something we missed, something that can explain what we saw." Sarah and Mark exchanged uncertain glances, but there was a flicker of agreement in their eyes. Despite their fear, a curiosity gnawed at them, a need to unravel the mystery of the Phantom's haunting melody and the spectral figure that had appeared before them. The decision made, they returned to the Phantom's Playhouse the following evening, the rain having subsided to a soft drizzle. The theater stood silent and imposing in the fading light of dusk, its facade weathered and worn. They entered through the same hole in the fence, their flashlights cutting through the gathering darkness. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. They retraced their steps through the labyrinthine corridors, guided by the memory of their previous visit. The theater seemed different now, charged with an energy they couldn't quite define. They reached the grand auditorium once more, its vast space echoing with the lingering echoes of their footsteps. The stage lay empty before them, a silent witness to the events that had unfolded the night before. "We need to find that spotlight," Mark said quietly, his voice breaking the stillness. "Maybe it holds the key to what happened." They searched the stage carefully, their flashlights sweeping over every inch. Dust motes danced in the beams of light, casting swirling patterns in the air. And then, in the corner of the stage where the Phantom had appeared, they found it. A dusty spotlight, its metal casing tarnished with age. Emily approached cautiously, her hand trembling slightly as she reached out to touch the spotlight. It felt cold to the touch, yet there was a faint hum of energy emanating from it, as if it held a residual trace of the Phantom's presence. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked, her voice barely audible over the sound of their collective heartbeat. Emily hesitated for a moment, then made a decision. "I think we should try to communicate with her. Maybe she's trying to tell us something." With a shared nod, they gathered around the spotlight, forming a circle as they had done the night before. Emily took a deep breath and began to hum the haunting melody they had heard, her voice trembling yet clear. As she sang, a faint light began to emanate from the spotlight, casting a gentle glow around them. The auditorium seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with anticipation. And then, as if in response to Emily's song, a soft, ethereal voice joined in. A voice that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The melody filled the theater once more, weaving a tapestry of sorrow and longing that echoed through the ages. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she listened, her heart breaking for the phantom who had been trapped in her final performance for so long. Mark and Tom exchanged solemn glances, their own emotions stirred by the haunting beauty of the moment. The melody reached its crescendo, a bittersweet lament that hung in the air like a gentle caress. And then, with a final, mournful note, the spotlight flickered and went out, leaving the theater in darkness once more. They stood in silence, the echoes of the phantom's song lingering in their hearts. A sense of closure washed over them, as if they had helped the phantom find peace after years of restless wandering. As they left the phantom's playhouse for the last time, a quiet sense of gratitude filled their souls. They knew they would never forget the phantom's haunting melody or the spectral figure who had touched their lives in ways they could never fully comprehend. And as they walked away from the abandoned theater, the night air filled with the soft sound of raindrops and the faint echo of a distant applause. A tribute to the phantom whose final performance had transcended time and touched the souls of those brave enough to listen. The teenagers left the phantom's playhouse that evening with a mixture of awe, sadness, and relief swirling in their hearts. The haunting melody and the spectral figure they had encountered had left an indelible mark on their souls, but they also felt a profound sense of closure, a sense that they had helped to unravel a mystery and perhaps offer solace to a restless spirit. As they walked through the quiet streets of the city, the rain continued to fall gently, washing away the traces of their footsteps and the emotions that had gripped them inside the abandoned theater. The weight of the experience hung heavy in the air, yet a newfound bond of shared understanding and bravery bound them together. "I can't believe what we just witnessed." Emily finally broke the silence, her voice soft and contemplative. "It's like something out of a ghost story." Mark nodded thoughtfully, his mind replaying the haunting melody that still echoed in his ears. "Yeah, but I feel like we did the right thing. Maybe she needed us to hear her story." Sarah wrapped her arms around herself, a shiver running through her despite the warmth of the rain-washed evening. "Do you think she's finally at peace now?" Tom glanced up at the darkened sky, his expression unreadable. "I hope so." It felt like closure, somehow. They walked in silence for a while longer, each lost in their own thoughts and emotions. The city around them seemed quieter now, the usual bustle of traffic and voices muted by the weight of their shared experience. When they finally reached the familiar glow of a streetlight, they paused and looked at each other, a silent understanding passing between them. They had faced something extraordinary together, something that defied explanation yet had touched their lives in a profound way. "I don't think we'll ever forget this," Emily said softly, breaking the silence once more. "It's like we were meant to be there, to hear her final performance." Mark nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Yeah, and maybe now she can rest." With a final glance back towards the direction of the phantom's playhouse, they continued on their way, their steps lighter now, their hearts filled with a mix of wonder and peace. The rain continued to fall, a cleansing shower that seemed to wash away the lingering remnants of fear and uncertainty. In the days and weeks that followed, the memory of the phantom's playhouse remained with them, a story they would occasionally share with trusted friends, always with a sense of reverence and awe. They knew they had witnessed something rare and inexplicable, a glimpse into the mysteries of life and death that would stay with them forever. Life continued, as it always does, with its ups and downs, successes and challenges. But the bond forged in the darkness of the phantom's playhouse remained unbreakable, a testament to the courage they had shown and the empathy they had felt for a spirit trapped between worlds. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of their memories, the haunting melody of the phantom's final performance continued to play, a reminder of the night they had confronted the unknown and emerged stronger, together. Months passed since their haunting encounter at the phantom's playhouse, but the memory of that night remained vivid in the minds of the teenagers. They had returned to their daily lives, each pursuing their respective paths with a newfound appreciation for the mysteries of the supernatural world. Mark continued his studies in architecture, but his designs now bore a subtle influence from the grandeur and melancholy he had witnessed within the abandoned theater. He found himself drawn to projects that captured the essence of forgotten histories, incorporating elements that paid homage to the spirits lingering in the shadows. Sarah's work as a psychologist took on a deeper resonance as she delved into the realms of trauma and spiritual healing. She often thought back to the phantom's haunting melody, reflecting on the resilience of the human spirit and the unseen forces that shape our experiences. Emily's career as a novelist flourished, her stories infused with themes of ghosts, mysteries, and the enduring power of the supernatural. Readers were captivated by her ability to weave tales that touched on the ethereal and the unknown, drawing inspiration from the spectral figure they had encountered. Tom's passion for environmental science led him to remote landscapes where the echoes of their encounter at the Phantom's Playhouse served as a reminder of the interconnectedness of life and the mysteries that lay beyond scientific understanding. He found solace in nature's quietude, pondering the spiritual dimensions of existence. Despite their divergent paths, the bond between the teenagers remained unbroken. They continued to meet regularly, sharing meals and reminiscing about their shared journey through the realms of the supernatural. Each reunion brought a sense of camaraderie and understanding that transcended words. One crisp autumn evening, they gathered at Sarah's apartment, a cozy sanctuary filled with books, artwork, and mementos from their adventures. The air was tinged with the scent of cinnamon and apples, a testament to the changing seasons outside. As they sat around a crackling fire, their conversation inevitably turned to the Phantom's Playhouse and the spectral figure they had encountered. The memory of the haunting melody filled the room like a ghostly presence, stirring emotions that lay dormant beneath the surface. "Do you ever wonder what happened to her?" Emily asked softly, breaking the reverent silence that had settled over them. Mark leaned forward, his gaze distant yet contemplative. "I like to think that our presence there helped her find peace. Maybe she was waiting for someone to listen, to acknowledge her existence." Sarah nodded thoughtfully, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. It felt like closure somehow, like we were meant to be there to witness her final performance. Tom, ever the skeptic turned believer, smiled gently. "I think she wanted us to understand, to see beyond the veil of the ordinary and glimpse the mysteries that lie beneath." They fell into a companionable silence, the crackling of the fire mingling with the gentle hum of the city outside. In that moment, they shared an unspoken bond, a shared understanding of the profound and inexplicable experience they had shared. As they bid farewell that evening, the teenagers carried with them a sense of gratitude for the journey they had undertaken together, a journey that had tested their courage, deepened their friendships, and opened their hearts to the mysteries of the unknown. And though they would continue to walk their individual paths, they knew that the memory of the Phantom's Playhouse and the Phantom's haunting melody would forever be etched in their hearts, a testament to the enduring power of connection, empathy, and the unseen forces that shape our lives. Years passed, and the teenagers grew into adulthood, each carving out their own unique paths while carrying with them the indelible mark of their encounter at the Phantom's Playhouse. Mark became a renowned architect, known not only for his innovative designs, but also for his ability to infuse each project with a sense of history and soul. His work often drew inspiration from the forgotten beauty of old theaters and abandoned buildings, seeking to preserve their stories in the structures he created. Sarah thrived in her career as a psychologist, specializing in trauma and spiritual healing. The experience at the Phantom's Playhouse had deepened her understanding of the human psyche and the complexities of grief and loss. She often found herself drawing upon that night as she guided her patients through their own journeys of healing. Emily's talent as a novelist flourished, her books captivating readers with their exploration of the supernatural and the unseen. She continued to draw inspiration from the spectral figure they had encountered, weaving tales that explored the mysteries of life, death, and the enduring power of memory. Tom's passion for environmental science took him to remote corners of the world, where he studied the interconnectedness of ecosystems and the delicate balance of life. The experience at the Phantom's Playhouse had sparked a curiosity in him for the spiritual dimensions of existence, leading him to explore indigenous beliefs and traditional wisdom. Despite their busy lives and the distance that sometimes separated them, the bond between the friends remained steadfast. They continued to gather whenever possible, sharing meals, laughter, and the occasional quiet moment of reflection. The memory of the Phantom's Playhouse became a cherished part of their shared history, a story they returned to time and again, finding new layers of meaning with each retelling. One summer evening, they reunited at a lakeside cabin nestled in the mountains, a place of tranquility and natural beauty. The air was filled with the scent of pine and the soft sounds of crickets chirping in the distance. They sat around a crackling fire, their faces illuminated by its warm glow. As they reminisced about their adventures and the passage of time, the conversation inevitably turned to the Phantom's Playhouse. The memory of the Phantom's haunting melody and the ethereal figure they had encountered seemed to hover in the air, as palpable as the flickering flames before them. "Do you ever wonder if she found peace?" Emily mused, her voice carrying a note of wistfulness. Mark gazed into the dancing flames, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I like to think so. Our presence there felt important somehow, like we were meant to bear witness to her story." Sarah nodded in agreement, her eyes reflecting the firelight. It was a reminder that there are mysteries in this world we may never fully understand, but perhaps our empathy and presence can bring solace, even to spirits caught between realms. Tom, who had always approached the supernatural with a scientist's skepticism, smiled softly. "That night changed how I see the world. It taught me that there are forces at play beyond our comprehension, yet they are part of the tapestry of life." They fell into a comfortable silence, the crackling of the fire and the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze filling the space between them. In that moment, they felt a profound sense of gratitude for the bond they shared, a bond forged in the crucible of fear and wonder, strengthened by the passage of time. As the night deepened around them and the stars emerged one by one in the darkening sky, they lingered by the fire, sharing stories and laughter late into the evening. The memory of the Phantom's Playhouse remained a touchstone in their lives, a reminder of the enduring power of friendship, courage, and the mysteries that unite us all. And as they bid farewell to another unforgettable night beneath the stars, they knew that their journey together was far from over. The memory of the Phantom's Playhouse and the Phantom's haunting melody would continue to inspire and connect them, weaving their lives together in ways they could never have imagined. For in the quiet corners of their hearts, they carried the echoes of that night, a testament to the enduring bonds of friendship and the transformative power of shared experiences that transcend time and space.